You know, it's hard just to stop jamming when you sit here music to begin something. Hi, guys. Welcome back today. Hopefully, the internet will play nice with us today. Nothing will happen. No weird items like Comcast going out or StreamYard deciding it's going to have a little buggy boo. So, if you were waiting for Angela and I to come back on, since we had already said goodbye, that 10 minutes of dead airspace is because we couldn't end the stream. Something happened with StreamYard and we couldn't log in and get rid of anything. So hi guys. Hi Shirley. Hi Kelly. Hi Jan. Hi Tamara. Hi Robin. The gang's all rolling in. Sorry for the hoarseness of my voice. 2 shows within 3 weeks is a little bit more than I can talk. I talked a lot. So it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Yes, Lori. I like that one. So it was a great weekend, guys. I enjoyed getting to see everybody from when I lived back in Michigan and got to see some new faces. Actually, people, they weren't new faces. It was just I got to see them in person, which was lots of fun. So if you joined us this morning, that's what I'm going to go to that after I finish where I got stuck last week. So we'll start with that. But I also have some new toys to show you, letting you know some fun things that I found this week. Actually, one of them was mailed to me, and the other one I actually ended up picking up. I'm as bad as everybody else. When I go to a show and I find something I want, I have to buy it. And this week is no different. I ended up buying something I've been looking at for a while, but I'll show you what it is when we get towards the end of that. Boy, I've got nastiness on my glasses. I can't see you guys. So, if you didn't know what we were doing, if you didn't watch this morning's show, this is what we did. Now, we did not embroider this, okay? We actually stitched it. I taught people how to make easy mitered corners. So if you don't even want to embellish your table runner or your tablecloth, being able to do those easy mitered corners, you can get one stitched up in no time flat. It was truly easy to do. So yeah, I think if we had started this back in September, that would have been really good. I was tired of pumpkins, I will have to say. So that's why I went for the everybody's doing pumpkins. So I went for what are those things? Acorns. And had fun with that. But yeah, I think if I had started this in September, it might not have been quite so rushed, but it actually went together very quickly. You could make one within a day pretty easily. Okay, so with sewing without my hands in the way, you don't know, Lois, how hard that was for me this morning. I couldn't see what I was doing. Usually, I am the one that's hunched over it because my chair is short. It's as high as it will go. Usually, I'm laying down over the top of that. So stitching with one hand and navigating is quite fun. Quite fun. So. Shirley, glad you enjoyed. The mitered corners were yes, truly, that is the best way I've found to do them. I've done them a bunch of different ways, but that one is certainly the easiest one I've ever tried, and it worked perfectly. So you're more than welcome. I'm glad you all watched this morning, and your grandkids are always right now. There's tons of acorns out in our back area. When I walk on the golf course in the afternoons, oops, don't tell the golf course people. The dog and I walk in the morning and the afternoon. Last week before I left, there was one tree that was beautiful. It had totally yellow and red leaves all over it. This week I come back, it's bare. It's totally almost bare. And yes, those mitered corners are magic for sure. You just wouldn't think that simple tip trick would work, but it truly does. Okay, guys. So let's start back with what we were doing last week before the stream crapped out on us. So let me go and share my screen here. Let's see if I can find it. There we go. Oops. I don't want to do picture in picture. There we go. So this is what we'll do here in a minute, but I'm going to start back where we stopped last time. We were in our import window and we went to a file folder on my computer because we were talking about when would you add an offset. So I wanted to go into the appliques and let's see here. We were pulling up this guy right here. And hopefully we get through this today. So you'll notice that placement stitch. And remember, I'm not in realistic view because you can't see through the stitches if you're in realistic view. But if you're in stitch view, you can see through the stitches. And that's the second circle down here at the bottom right corner. So you'll notice how the placement stitch there, that black line, is way basically out, I mean, way towards the inside. And if we measure from the outer stitch to that black line, and look, that's 2.2 millimeters. That's way too much. And if we come from here to here and look at it, oops, I went a little bit too far. Let's go here to here. That's about 0.98. So we would really want to bump that out at least a millimeter. Okay. So what I had you do was come up here and click on the design. Pick any piece of it because it is in fixed stitch format. It has those black dashed lines around it. That lets us know it's in stitches format. You'll also notice when something is in stitches format, it says stitches on your tab up here at the top. And only the items that you can change about it show up. We want to divide this one by color. That allows us to grab the piece that we want it to cut. So if we grab the first piece, these are actually backwards in my opinion, but if we grab the first piece, if you double click on it, it will grab it, or you can click on it and click on the select patterns icon, or you can right mouse click and choose select objects. Any of those three items will work to make it pick it up. Then you can go to your scan and cut tab. For this one, when you would choose export, and you would want to have your offset spacing at least 1 millimeter. I'm afraid if you go up to 2 millimeters, it will be too large. So the offset spacing in this case would be 1 millimeter, and you'll notice how it perfectly goes around that area. And then you can save that as an FCM file and take it to your scan and cut machine via USB if you would like to. Or if you're connected to your scan and cut machine wirelessly, if you send it to CanvasWorkspace first, it will then actually come up and say, would you like for me to be sent to your scan and cut? So we'll say, okay, to also send a scan and cut. Say yes, and then you can go and retrieve it at your scan and cut machine. So that's how you add an offset here in the software. If you had something that had an inside and an outside, we covered that one other week. I think 2 weeks ago, we may have covered that, to where if you have an inside inner part and an outer part, you would need to actually take those to CanvasWorkspace, do the offset to the outside part, do the offset to the inner part. So just keep that in mind. All right. Now let's go to CanvasWorkspace now, and we'll talk about this morning what we were doing. Okay. So this was our final project. This was what I ended up with. Let me show you how I got there. And truly, did I sew it this way? Yeah, maybe. But this gave me a direction, and that was really what I was looking for. I tend to design here and then go work on it. So we're going to go new page and go into the library. So Canvas Projects Library. Y'all know that I am famous for going in here and finding artwork that I like to be able to combine to make something new out of. And this one came from Autumn. So I just typed in Autumn and pressed enter. I think I used these same files on that little felt tray that I made back in September. So here's our Autumn message card, and we're going to select the first part of this. And then just minimize that or close it out. Do whatever you want. I got rid of this leaf right here because I didn't need it. From there, I started playing. So this is grouped. I'm going to come pull this out. This is grouped, but I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, and I'm going to ungroup it. I colored mine in. Does this matter? No, but this allowed me to be able to visualize it. So that really is up to you whether you color things in or not, but I like them to be the color I think I'm going to use. So I selected that part. I went over to my fill and I said, all right, I want you to be kind of an orangey yellow. There we go. That's the bottom. And I came and grabbed this one and I said, I think I want you to be a brownish color. So those were my two colors. Now that one is going to the back and I don't want that. So I'm going to right mouse click and say arrange, bring to the front. And now it's going to sit on top. So there's how I started with my base acorn. And then I took the whole thing and I rotated it a little bit and I said, all right, I think I want you to duplicate. So I duplicated it and I moved it over. And then I said, all right, I think I want to mirror you. So I went to my edit menu here and I flipped it. So that's a super easy way to mirror, flip, and get yourself going right there. Okay. Now, how did I make my little cross hatches? So those were things that I drew on it. So what I did, I basically came in here and hid everything. So I'm going to come and grab all of these and just press the hide icon for all of them. And I went to my artboard, which is this guy down here, artboard, and I said, show snap to grid because I want it to snap to the grid. All right. So if I come and grab my path tool, when I left mouse click, actually, I'm going to unhide. I'm going to double click here and undo that. I'm going to unhide the top, one of my tops. So let's unhide this guy. And for now, let's make him upright so we have a reference. I came in and I drew from one edge to the other. So the snap to grid is going to make sure that it snaps to grid. And I don't care if it's too long or too short. That's fine. We'll get it where we want it to go in a minute. I duplicated this. So Control C, Control V actually copies and pastes. And then you can take it and move it to the next spot. I made it taller so that it would fit in there. And as I said, remember, we may or may not keep it like this because I will probably shrink things in where I need them to be, but this gives us a way to actually see that. So I'm going to grab that line right there, copy it, paste it, Control C, Control V, and you can use your arrow key on your keyboard also to move it over. Now, I don't see a lot of, I'm going to move this guy over a little bit. Let's change our grid. So let's change our grid spacing down to 0.75. That gives me a little bit more control here. Now let's snap this one back over to this grid. And this guy, I'm going to use my arrow key. It'll automatically snap him over there. And let's copy paste it again and move it over one spot. So that's pretty good. I'm happy with those. We're going to go ahead and turn off snap to grid, and then we can finesse this in a minute. Let's go into our layers and let's pick our pieces there. So those are the ones that we want to do. I'm going to group them, Control G for group, okay? And then I copied and pasted. So Control C, Control V. We now have a second set that I can rotate. Easy enough for me to say. For some reason, we've got a little bug not letting me rotate a copied item, and I'm not sure why, to a different angle. So I had these going crisscross. This first section, this first section, I had going this way, and that one I had going that way. And you can take and move them if you want. Play nice with me. There we go. So you can take and move them with that center point if you want. And if you feel like this one needs to be moved someplace else, don't want both of them, just one. Okay, if it's not letting you move it, there's a position and size thing here, guys, that you can move it that way. So that gives you the ability to move it, even if your little arrow thing would not let you do it, which mine was not, you can do it that way. Okay, so then I'm going to shrink this guy in. Maybe not. We're going to ungroup. Right mouse click and ungroup. A little ornery cuss. Right mouse click. All right, there is more than one way to do this. Right here. Select that, ungroup it. In your layers menu, if you can't get something to work there, you can always go to the layers menu. Now I'm going to take this guy and shrink him in. It doesn't matter if it's perfect, guys, because these are going to draw, not cut. So it truly does not have to be perfect. And you can pick up the pieces in your layers menu. The reason we drew them was to give ourselves a reference on how to stitch, because that's where I got the gold stitch lines. That gave me the capability of doing those little gold stitch lines. So this one I actually want to be longer because I want it to go across the top part. So now let's come and grab these and make them a little bit smaller. And remember, as I said, these are just references for you to be able to stitch across. So if they're a little bit too long, it is not going to matter. I could actually leave them alone. I'm just kind of a little bit retentive when it comes to that, shall I say. Detail oriented, is that a good way to put it? There we go. So there we go. Now I selected all of those. Actually, first of all, we want to come and grab our, what are those things called? Our crisscross lines. And we want to go to our properties and tell it, instead of cutting, you want it to draw. Then you can take all of that and Control G for group. Now it will move as one unit. At that point, I turned everything back on so that I could see what I've got going on here. So there's that guy. I'm going to delete this one now that I've got this guy ready how I want him. So I'm going to duplicate it, take it over, because now it's got its drawing lines. I'm using the arrow key on my keyboard to take it over because it's not liking my duplicated grouped items to be moved individually today for some reason. I'm going to go into my edit menu and we are going to rotate that the opposite direction. So we're just going to rotate it with the rotate menu. There's more than one way to do things. It is easier when it likes you and lets you just bump it, but if it doesn't, you can always do it this way. So we want to, I don't want to do the X position, I want to do the Y. Wrong direction. There we go. All right, so that's pretty good. I'm going to take this as a unit, copy it and paste it and bring it down and make it smaller. So this is my little bitty guy. And now I'm going to rotate it. Evidently, rotate works, duplicate doesn't. I mean, copy paste works, but duplicate doesn't like me. So there we go. So that's my 3 acorns. Okay. All right. Now I came in and I grabbed my leaf. And I brought it down here. We're going to bring it towards the front, arrange, bring to front for right now, because that allows us to see what we're going to do. And you can take your paintbrush if you want to and paint it in with a different color. So I had one that was green and I just kind of arranged mine differently. It doesn't matter. I copied it and I pasted it. And I took this guy and rotated it. And I did flip this one because I liked my stems going down. Don't know why, I just liked that curve better. That's just was my personal opinion. And if you want to make them bigger, you could make them bigger. That's up to you, proportionally how you like it. I had both of mine the same size. So if you decide to resize them, I would go ahead and copy and paste again. So I'm going to make this one a little bit bigger again and copy, paste. And then we'll take it over here and flip it. There we go. So now you can grab both of those, copy, Control-C, or right mouse click and choose copy, and paste. These I changed the color to a different color. I made them red. And then I pasted again, and I made those brown. And then I arranged them how I thought I wanted them to be. So that little rotate tool there, it doesn't, like I said, you are going to actually physically place these since we are manually appliquing. You get to be the designer in charge when you're at your sewing machine and you're actually placing them with your iron. You get to pick where you want them to go. This is just what I chose to do. This gave me the visual to decide whether I liked it or not. Did I want to do something else? How do these look together? What is this game plan? It gave me a path that I wanted to try. So there we go. Now, after I did all that, I'm going to come back and answer questions here, and then I'll move them to where I want them to do. So before I do that, let's pick with the control key, let's come and grab the separate pieces so we can take all those guys right there, right mouse click and say arrange, send backwards. We're going to arrange and send backwards again. There they go. Now they're behind my acorn, and that's where they would be when I stitch them together. So at that point, you can resize it to be however you want them to be. So I'm going to come back and answer questions here. All right, Edna, there is a cheat sheet. For the scan and cut blades. Okay, they each are, okay, let me think about this one first. They each have a purpose. The blue one is labeled the vinyl blade, and it is called the vinyl auto blade. The tan one is the thin cotton fabric auto blade, and it is paired with the gold mat, which is your fabric mat. The black standard blade is a general purpose, all-purpose tool, and I generally use it unless I'm cutting cotton without a backing or vinyl that's very delicate. The rotary auto blade is for things that are challenging to cut. So, or if you don't want to stabilize your fabric. So if you don't want to put a backing or you don't want to stiffen your fabric, that's where the rotary auto blade comes into play. I was asked this morning and I didn't get a chance to respond to it because I was over at the machine. Why was I using my standard mat and not my fabric mat? Because I was cutting fabric. Here's the deal. If you have backing on your fabric, you never want to be using your fabric mat unless you're doing face down. Because if you do, adhesive to adhesive is going to stick like, it is going to be stuck like Chuck, and you are not getting it off that mat. So that's, that I tend to use my standard mat because it's the most general purpose for a large majority of things that I do because it works very well. So it really just depends on what you're doing. If it's a delicate item, I'm using the rotary auto blade because usually I'm not planning on backing it. And as we come out with new blades, that's what they are. But when you buy the vinyl auto blade kit, it comes with a blue cartridge and it's called vinyl auto blade. The thin fabric cotton blade is labeled the thin fabric cotton blade in the box. So just kind of get that. I will try to figure, I'll see if I have time today. If not, we'll do that next week. Let's see here. Tracy, are you sending me ugly emojis again? You're so funny. She hits the wrong key on her phone every week. I'm just going to have to tell her that, you're not allowed to touch your phone. Control G for group is basically a Microsoft command. It's a universal command. Control G and Control C and Control V. So Control G is group, Control C is copy, Control V is paste. There are a list of these commands I'm trying to think where that list is. When you installed the last version of Canvas Workspace, there should have been a list of commands. Let's see if we can go over there and find those. If we go to the Help menu and we go to, let's go to Quick Start Guide. Let me see. Seeing if it gives me any tools here for you all to look. I'll look for that and see where they are later. There was when I opened up my program, it would always ask me, do I want to see those shortcuts? I printed them out for myself. I haven't been able to find another place to go back and find them. Control D is generally duplicate, but it does not work in this program. So now that one, I'm not sure. Hold on, Kelly. That's a good question. So the one where I duplicated, let's see if I hold my control key down on them. Yes, you are correct. That is weird. So if I duplicate and hold the control, well, it still won't let me rotate, but it was letting me move it. Now it lets me move it freely. Don't ask me why. It's just not liking me today. Okay, let's see here. I'm not sure what you're asking there, Kelly. Not sure. Okay. Now, I physically did it with scissors because until I got everything laid out down in front of me on my project, I didn't know if I wanted to take those off or not. I couldn't decide if I was going to leave some stems out, some stems on. So really, this is a project that I built as I went. And I was building each side at the same time. So I ironed on my two base acorns, and then I went over to the opposite side, measured up to make sure. I think I measured 4.5 inches up to make sure that they were going to be on the same side. I went 4 inches in, 4.5 inches up so that they were in the same position. I tried to make sure that both sides matched. So that's how I ended up doing this. And as I placed a piece on each side, I went and did the same thing to the opposite side, making sure to measure where I was so that I would know what I was doing. And I actually stitched them in layers. So I did my two base acorns first, then I did the tops of the acorns. So one at a time so that I didn't overlap my stitching. And then I put on the first set of leaves. And each time I laid that top acorn down over the top, making sure I knew where I wanted things to go. So it was really a building process. And you basically could take a snip of this on your computer and print it out for yourself if you wanted a navigational roadmap. And that's really what this was. I only needed one leaf. I could have taken that one leaf, mirrored it, duplicated it, done whatever I needed to do on the scan and cut. This just gave me a roadmap for me to be able to look at and say, oh yeah, that's where I was going with this. No, the cheat sheet show settings that come with the machines. They tell you they give you an idea of matte and blade combinations. That comes in the box. But depending on when you bought your machine, depended on what blade we had. And truly, until we get things out of the box and start playing with them, it's one of those most of us don't know what matte blade combination we're going to use. Okay. I do not put a support sheet on anything at this point because I'm using a DX machine and I use the fabric blade, fabric mat. If you're on one of the older machines, then yes, put a support sheet, label that mat, high tack fabric support, and you're going to put it on a standard mat. Technically, they say standard. I have been known to put mine on a low tack mat just simply because then it is a bit easier to peel off once it's gotten all cut up and nasty. So, but you can do either one, but technically the official answer is yes, put it on a standard mat, and it needs to be a brand new standard mat, not a dirty one, not one that you've cut up. What I suggest is that you lightly roll back your dust cover about 1 inch, line up that support sheet with the plastic side to the mat, and roll it with your brayer, and then roll a little bit more out, roll it down with your brayer. Keep going, basically a grid line at a time. That will get you the fewest bubbles in your high-tack fabric support sheet. Once you're done, then you peel the green sheet off the top. Okay. Let's see here. So shortcuts for PE-DESIGN are definitely all on my mouse pad. I don't have them written out for CanvasWorkspace though. All right. Yes, Control V is paste. And there are a lot that you can find out there on Google. So yes, you don't have to, Robin, you don't have to have, and hi, Miss Robin, good to see you this week. I met Robin at the Novi Sewing Expo. She doesn't think I'll remember her, but yes, you can have a Canvas Workspace account without actually having a scan and cut yet, and you can design with it. It's a great designing space. So you could actually print that out and do it yourself. You could trace it. Knowledge in several software. I kind of like that one, Lori. That's good. I also thought about Tuesday's tips or something like that. Gosh, that one went out of my head. Hi, Trudy. Good to see you here. From New Zealand. That's pretty good. Tracy, when I'm making a satin stitch in PE-DESIGN, I usually go no less than 2.5 millimeters in width. That is, if you use the applique function in PE-DESIGN, 10 or 11, it will actually make it the correct size for you usually. Okay, guys. Now, let's go see some things that I brought home with me. You ready? All right, let's see if I can change to a different camera. Yes, it is on. Let's make sure my audio is on. Correct. Yes. Okay. There we go. All right. What toys did I make at home with? This cutting mat is pretty slick. It actually is a cutting mat and a light box. And so this is something I've been eyeballing, but I've only been eyeballing the light box. I ended up getting the light box, and it comes with a mat, and the mat doesn't slip, which is pretty slick. This one is also rechargeable, so you can use it without it being plugged in. And the little grid lines match up with the grid lines on your ruler. How slick is that? So if you're trying to get something lined up perfectly to cut, there you go. You got it sweet. So I had to buy it, Cindy. Tana, I could not resist. They were right across from us. I watched them all weekend, and I ended up having to buy. You know, I am a sucker just like everybody else, and I am actually pretty excited about this one. I have a little glass top that's coming. They ran out of those. I didn't jump fast enough on that. And so I could not resist. It was just it was meant to be. It was every day. I watched it every day, and it is a little self-healing mat. So you can simply just kind of place your stuff down there, line it up, and cut across it. So if you all watched me this morning, I said I lined up my fabric along one of the edges here, and I just kind of took and went across it. It does help if you go all the way across. And it really doesn't take much pressure at all either. That is really slick. So, I really got it more for weeding my vinyls than anything else. But I'm pretty psyched, pretty excited. What? I must have a dull blade in here. So anyhow, so that's my one thing that I came back with. But what arrived in the mail for me this week? Okay. I don't know if y'all have seen these from Marine, but boy, howdy, you know, I've been stuffing these underneath my hoops forever. I've been stuffing underneath my hoops forever to keep the back side of things balanced. These are her in the hoop pressing pads. This is the 8x12 one, and boy, it is the bomb. That's what I was using earlier today to press on, because I can put it on top of this. And boy, I should have put it on top. I should have had the second one next to me to put on top of my cutting mat, because I melted my cutting mat this morning with my iron. it went through the hot pad and warmed it up a little bit too much there. But this thing is, you can use it by itself, or you can use it with your hoop, basically just turning it upside down and pressing them into place. So those are my 2 finds this week, and I had to tell y'all. Reen asked me what I thought about this guy, and I said, you're a genius. I wish I had thought of it first. So this is a nice little rubber non-slip on the back of it. It has a heat-resistant plastic, and they really did a very nice job with this. And you can carry it around just like that, or hang it up on your hooks. So those are my 2 finds for the weekend. And the Caterpillar is pretty slick. I can't wait to try it with my vinyl and play. Where do you order which ones, Shirley? And hold on, let me come back up here, switch cameras. I have no skin in the game in either item. I just had to tell you that I had to go for those as well. KLM, I believe it's quilting. Hold on, let me see. Those were the sweetest girls, y'all. They were so much fun to be across from, and they were actually in my hotel as well. The hoop mat, you order those from Embroidery Garden. So it's Reen Wilcoxon has basically come up with the idea. You can order them from embroiderygarden.com. So I would ask for those for Christmas, or go ahead and purchase them yourself for Christmas. Or purchase them yourself just for it, so you don't have to play any. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to justify it. It is a wonderful little tool, and it hangs and puts itself away. Yeah. So Laura, you're liking your Caterpillar. I'm telling you, they sucked me right in. I watched them when I wasn't busy. I would see people go by there, and I'm like, yeah, I've been looking at one of those. Do I want it? Do I not? Do I want it? Do I not? And I decided, yeah, I had to have it. So Terry's got it as well. So I'm not the only one. That one was lots of fun. Let me see if I can find those girls though. If not, I'll put it in the comments later. My miters are on the back side. So if you look right here, those are the miters. I did it to the inside. You could obviously do it to the top if you wanted to. I just did it to the inside. You get to take your pick, whatever you want. So yeah, don't wait for Santa. Just order one every time your husband makes you mad. You're so funny. Yes, the mats do come in different sizes for different hoops. So she's got an 8x12, a 6x10, a 5x7. I don't know how low she goes, but they do come in different sizes. I'm telling you, it's just I'm thinking, Rain, you're a genius. Why didn't I think of that? I mean, I'd been doing it. I just had not actually thought of it. So, I mean, it's genius. Sometimes we all have, you have to sit there and go, wow, that was fun. Okay. So yeah, they had a good deal at the show. I did not get the round spinning mat. I think they ran out of those like they did the glass. Like I said, we were slammed from the beginning of the day to the end of till about 3:30 in the afternoon. At 3:30, we got to basically look up and breathe and say, oh, there are other booths around there. So that is things. The Robin, the mats were not there. They are at Embroidery Garden, and Reen just sent me those a couple of weeks ago, and I've been meaning to show you all that. I just kept forgetting because I got it got a little crazy. Yeah, Tana, go watch the replay. We had I'm telling you, those mitered corners you will like. They are easy. It's the easiest method I've ever found to do them. I think you will enjoy that method. I used to iron and go back and forth. Oh, y'all wanted to know what my little ironing thing was this morning. Hold on. I did not buy this off the internet, but this is a heat ruler. Okay, so you can press on top of it, and that's how I turned my 1 inch over. And you can pick whatever measurement you want. I went with a 1 inch item. So the glass, you can put it. The glass is genius. I can press on it, so I could put my light box down, have my fabric laying over the top of it, and then place my pieces. And so the light actually would float up underneath them. And then you can press directly on it. Or if you're wanting to put your appliques together before you put it on your project, if you're wanting to layer them together right there and just press them all together, you can do it right on top of that mat on the glass. Because it's tempered glass, you can do it right there. So that was one of the things that I was looking forward to. But like I said, I didn't act on that one fast enough. I got the cutter bug thing itself the first day. You know, after watching them in the afternoon, I couldn't go. I said, okay, so what is this thing? And I realized that, oh yeah, I've been looking for one of those. So that's what I did. So that is how that goes. So let me see here. There was another question at the bottom of Edna's. Okay, how to get rid of part of a design. Okay, yes, I understand now. Let's come and I was going to look for the girls' names, but I'll look for those later and get back to you. So let me select all. So if I want to delete part of a design, let me just select all and delete the whole thing first. If it is a stitch-based design, by that I mean it has black dashed lines around it, then you first need to go to the Stitches tab and divide by color, okay? Once you've done that, you can select the part that you want, click it, click your select patterns, move your cursor out of the sewing order window and press delete, and that part is now gone. If you're just wanting to get rid of part of it, you can select that color, go to your split stitches tool and snip around the part that you want to get rid of. Double click, and then it's automatically selected. Just press delete on your keyboard, and now that part's gone. So that's your PE-DESIGN, how to get rid of something. In BES4, let me find my BES4 icon here. Yeah, I liked the size of the cutter pillar as well. It's a nice size. It fits places. They have 3 different varieties. I think mine's the intermediate one, but I like the fact that it's rechargeable and I don't have to have it plugged in all the time. So here is my BES4. So let's pull that same design in. Of course, I have to bring it over here so you can see it, right? So I'm going to go up here and choose merge and find that same design. All right, let's see here. Let's view as, there we go. Where's the one that I did? This guy right here. All right, if I want to get rid of the green, I simply select it in my sequence view and press delete on my keyboard. This one, if I want to get rid of a part of something, I have to watch it stitch. So I have to kind of fast forward here to the color, and I would put right there a stop. So there, press stop twice, and that inserts a stop. So now let's come back. It didn't do it where I wanted it to go. Undo. Try this again. Get rid of this one. Come and slide. So there it's going to go. And I'm going to press the stop button. And that inserts a color stop. It should have changed colors for me. There we go. So you can see how it broke that apart. So now I'm going to continue on. And let's say we want that one section that I have is a different color. We'll make it yellow so you can see. You're going to have to play with that. So if I wanted this particular section out, I'd have to come back and find where that actually is. So there's that part. I would put my next stop right there. So you should be able to see the next part. So then you can delete that, change this one back to red, and you're ready to go. Okay. So there's a little bit more work involved, I would tell you, in BES4, trying to get rid of things that are stitch based, but depending on what it is, you don't have to divide by colors. It automatically breaks it down into your color segments for you. So that's not something that you have to do, but yeah, you do have to do color stops in order to get to a specific segment that you want to do. Robin, the difference between BES4 and PE-DESIGN is PE-DESIGn is a full version of digitizing. So you can create from scratch there, not just from an FCM file, fabric cutting machine. You don't just have you have the capability of doing more than just an applique. You can create an entirely digitized design. For BES4, it's more of a customizing program. It has 200 or 199 plus built-in fonts. It allows you to send wirelessly to and from your machines with the SD card, especially for machines that don't have the internal card in them. It allows you to do word collages. There's a lot that you can do that's customizing, that's fun in BES4. So any other questions here? So if I forgot, let's see here, embroiderygarden.com. Be sure and tell Rain that I sent you that way. So embroiderygarden.com. Let's go there and see. Don't y'all like how I talk to myself? Here you go. Pressing the hoop pads. It's actually on her homepage. So these are the ones. And if you click on that little link right there, it'll tell you what sizes she has for you. These are brother and baby lock machine ones. She has 5x7, 6x10, and 8x12, or you can buy them all as a package, which is cool. So if you need them all, you can go ahead and get them all. And Sydney says she loves her BES. She uses it all the time. So, and I do as well. It's a fun little program that if you're really into appliques and if you like customizing, there's just a lot in it. They are both very complementary programs. You don't have to have one or the other. It's not like every program has something that it offers that's unique that you can do something in. I choose to go to the program that's easiest to complete what I plan on doing. That's my theory. Oh, Trudy, we do a lot of in the hoop projects. So let's say you're doing an in the hoop project and it's an applique and you need a front and the back to be the same. You press the front down, but you want to turn it over and press the back. Well, if you don't have something supporting it, when you press the back, you get everything out of whack because there's that gap in your hoop. If you have that press in the hoop pad, it supports it while you're pressing to the back. A lot of the in the hoop projects require you to press on the front side and the back side. So that is really what they're for. And I'm telling you, it's genius. Like I said, I wish I had thought of it, but really my light box, y'all remember me telling you that I cut out Elsa. Well, I'm stuck. I don't know what else to weed. So I got to figure out what else has to be weeded. And I'm hoping my light box will help me finish this little project so that I can get this in my travel case before the first of the year, hopefully. So anyhow, all right, guys, I don't have a whole lot else for you if there aren't any questions, but I did promise somebody, I believe it was Denise Inkson, that I would talk a little bit about alpha mapping in PE-DESIGN 11. So let me see if I can do a quick snippet on that if there aren't any questions about the project that we did today. Remember, if you want something to draw and you're using the desktop version of CanvasWorkspace, then you need to change it from cut to draw. That is a real big takeaway that I want you to remember, that you must choose draw. Otherwise, when you get over there, you can't choose draw. It says there's no drawing lines. There's nothing there for it to draw. So the web version automatically assigns both a cut and a draw to every line, but the desktop version does not. The reason I use the desktop version instead of the web version is because then I get to have control over the layers. Okay. All right, let's see here. Yes, I'll show the light box one more time. Hold on a second. Let me switch cameras. So this is the press and the hoop pad. And here's the little light box. So it simply turns on. It's got 3 levels of light. It's got a mat, and the mat matches up with the grid, with the lines on your ruler. So you can line up lines to lines, and you'll know that you are actually set up the way you want it to. And as I said, it's a self-healing mat. So it is just pretty slick, and it doesn't move. That mat has a grippy surface on the back of it, so it doesn't move. I do believe they have a mat that I brought home with me as well that has no grid lines on it at all. So if you don't want grid lines, you can do that. Okay. All right, let's see here if I can answer Denise's question on alpha mapping. Yes, Trudy, you know, it is a great use of those of the wool pressing mats. So let's come over here for a second. Font mapping in PE-DESIGN. So if we go up to our option pull down menu, why would I use font mapping? Font mapping's when you purchase those fonts that are not keyboard lettering. They are purchased fonts that are stitched base. And you go into your font creator program to do this. So let me bring my font creator program over here. What happened to my StreamYard? So here's my font creator program. And you're going to go up to the application key and choose new font mapping. All right. You want to have it say, go ahead and leave it. So set standard character from height of the embroidery file. I would leave it at that. That way you don't have to tell it what you want it to do. Now, I don't have, yes, I do have a font on this computer if I can find it. So let's go up here to my file folder and scroll up to my OneDrive. Here we go. So I have this font divided by uppercase, lowercase, and is it going to come in? There we are. Okay. So it is going to basically assign the font height based on the letter M, because that's generally the largest character in the character map. So it's telling me select the embroidery file character used to set the standard character height for this font. So we're going to choose our M, select it, and select OK. Now, when you go in and you say multiple import, you can have it. Let me find my little thing so I can bring it back over here for you. It brings this window up, and everything is selected. You can say import. And they are all there. These are all of my uppercase. I can import them all at one time. Close it. And now when we go to the A, you can see that all of my uppercase letters are mapped. Okay. So now let's do multiple import again. And let me find the folder. We're going to go with lowercase letters this time. And click OK. And all of them are selected. We'll say import. So now if we look here, oops, we're going to go ahead and say, let's close and see what happens here. We should have them all. Let's go and look and see what our F is, the R is. Yes. So it's actually put them in the correct place because they are uppercase and lowercase. So let's save this as Cindy's mapped font. And it has to stay in the My Font folder. We're just going to say Cindy's font. We'll save it. All right. Now I'm going to open up a new window of PE-DESIGN. Because this will actually refresh the window. Otherwise, it would not be refreshed and it probably would not show up. So let's go into our text and we would choose our font mapped files, the user mapped text. And come down here and choose Cindy's font. And you'll notice that there's a little problem right there, right? That Y is not where I need it to be. So I would go back into my font mapping program, and this is something that I wanted you to see why you do this. The G, you need to make it descend. So the G, the Y, all of those characters, you would want to make them descend. So let's come here, and where's the J? Any letters that need to go below that baseline, you would want them to descend here. And Y. We need to do P and Q too, right? This is one of those that I kind of play with and see what if I like it after I've done it, because I may take them too low, I may take them too high. So evidently I want my Y to be up. And which one didn't I do? Q. Once you've done that, resave it. And then come back and look at it in PE-DESIGN. So let's come and select that font again. Notice how it descends now. So that's how you do it. It makes it easier for you if you actually divide them into upper and lowercase folders, is my personal opinion. If they're named A, B, C, D, and E, you'll have an easier time with it. That way each name, because if you have a file that's an uppercase A and a lowercase a in the same folder, you can't. Yet Windows won't let you name them the same way, because in its world, that's still an A. So that's why I divide mine into upper and lowercase and just bring them in that way. Okay. So I will tell you that I have had a few people that have had some issues. I have not upgraded my system to PE-DESIGN 11 yet, Windows 11 yet, because I do not have time to be down. My suggestion is, if you have an issue, to try running it in compatibility mode. If you don't know how to run a program in compatibility mode, I will show you that little trick here. So you go, open your Windows File Explorer, and you find the program. Your PE-DESIGN is going to be under Program Files x86, Brother, and then you find the PE-DESIGN folder here. So let's say we're doing 11. I'm going to click on it. Scroll down till you see the EMB, anything that's an application folder. So these right here are all the applications. This is your design database. This is layout and editing. This is your font program. This is the link program. This is the Design Center. And this is the programmable stitch creator. Right mouse click on that folder and choose that file and choose properties, compatibility, and then you can say run this program in compatibility mode. The last known Windows that it works in is 10. So you'll see on Windows 11, you should see Windows 10. Run it in compatibility mode for 10 and then click apply. Okay. So that's my suggestion on that one. I haven't had anybody come back and say that hasn't worked. So I'm assuming that does, until I hear differently. But like I said, you are taking that on your own risk. I personally have not gone to Windows 11 yet, because our companies have not had enough time to catch up with it. We have to give them time to make sure that everything runs. And I'm not the one testing that, but that would be the software developers. So yes, there is a big difference between BES4 and PE-DESIGN 11. PE-DESIGN is a full digitizing program which allows you to create an embroidery design from scratch. I kind of went over this just about 10 minutes ago, so go back and watch this again and it'll give you an idea. No, I did not know that on the Dream Machine that there's a font error. I'll have to check that one out. Let me take a screen capture of this and see. So let me do a new, and that way I'll check it out. Okay. So, all right, guys. Edna, I'm glad you enjoyed today. As always, be sure and send in your questions. Next week is going to be, next week may be late, okay, if I get to do next week at all. I have a presentation for dealers at 2 o'clock, 2:30 my time. So, and it's supposed to last an hour, but it could go over. So I'll try to schedule it for 4, and it will be a fast one because, as you all know, I have a dog that can tell time, and at 4:30 she is ready to go for a walk. So just letting you know, at 4:30 we must walk. So if I may schedule it for 4, and because I should be done in time to do 4, but it would be a 30-minute or so. All right, guys. So you all have a great rest of the day. Robin, I'm glad you enjoyed both shows today, and glad you guys could join us. Cindy, my dad's doing okay. I'm going to visit them at basically for Thanksgiving. So this is his Thanksgiving. So I will be down there that week or next week. So I will not be shipping anything after tomorrow. Movers are coming to move out my stuff so that they can redo my floors after the issue that we had with water. So flooring is getting done at the end of this week. So I will not be actually doing any shipping because that station will be closed down until after I get back from Thanksgiving. All right, guys, you all have a great rest of the day. It was a pleasure seeing you 2 times today. If you joined me this morning, if you didn't, I would suggest if you want to do the project that we talked about this afternoon to go back and watch this morning's show on Brothersews Live. All right, we'll see you later. Bye-bye. Have a happy Thanksgiving, by the way.